Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro, hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to discuss function expressions in JavaScript, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright everybody, function expressions. A function can also be defined using an expression. A function expression can be stored in a variable, and the variable can be used as a function by invoking it by adding a set of parentheses after the variable name. That will invoke or call our function stored within a variable. So function expressions have a few uses. Some of these we haven't talked about yet. We can use them for closures, IIFE, which is an acronym for immediately invoked function expressions, basically functions that can be run as soon as it's defined, and we can also pass them as arguments to other functions. So here's an example of a basic function declaration that we're used to. We'll compare and contrast the differences between the two. So a standard function declaration, which is what we're used to, we may say something like, say hello, then we will call this function, and we can define it before or after. Function, say hello, then we will console.log the word hello. So here we are, we have the word hello. So that is a basic function declaration. So let's cover function expressions, which have different syntax. So here we have a function expression, and it might look a little something like this. So let's create a variable called greeting. Let greeting equal, and we can store a function within this variable by writing a function expression. So let greeting equal function, parentheses, curly braces, and then our function within the set of curly braces. So we will say console.log the word hello. So we now have an entire function within a variable. So variables can store more than just values. So to call the function within this variable, we type the name of our variable followed by a set of parentheses. Then to call this function stored within my variable of greeting, I would just add a set of parentheses after the variable name. So this will display to my console the word hello. So a function expression has different syntax from a function declaration and different uses. A function expression is useful as closures, which we still need to talk about in future videos. They can be used in IIFE, immediately invoked function expressions, functions that run as soon as it's defined, as well as being passed as arguments to other functions. So these two we'll still need to talk about, but I can definitely show you an example of passing a function expression as an argument to other functions. So let's define a function. Function output. So we will have one parameter of a function, and we will execute whatever our function is. So by using a function expression, we can store a function within a variable, and then we can pass this variable as an argument to another function. So I'm going to invoke the output function and then pass in my variable greeting as an argument to this function. And then this function can do whatever it wants with this function stored within this variable. So let me get rid of these lines of code just so that it's less distracting. So with this variable of greeting that stores our function, we're passing it as an argument to our output function. We're giving this variable a temporary nickname of func or whatever you want. And then by adding a set of parentheses after our parameter of func, we will invoke whatever function is stored within this variable of greeting. So this has some uses too, because a function can do whatever it wants with another function that it receives as an argument. So this time, let's keep our output function the same, except we're going to change the function that is stored within our variable of greeting. Instead of displaying a message to our console, let's display a message to our website. So we can write something like this. So let me copy what we have here. Then we're going to change the text of an h1 header tag. So add this line, h1 id equals my h1, and then close it. So we are going to target this element by ID. So within our function, we'll write document.getElementById, list the ID within parentheses, my h1 dot innerHTML equals the word hello. So there's nothing else that we have to change within our code, just the function expression we're storing within this variable. So our output function is going to be the same, but we're just changing the function that we're passing into our output function. So this will display the word hello instead to my website. Now let's rewrite the same program. Instead of using function expressions, let's use function declarations. So let's turn this line into a comment. Let greeting equal our word of hello. Then this time we need two functions. Function output to our console or function output to our DOM or website. This will be output website. So let's call our output console function first, and then we will pass in our greeting as an argument. So I'll rename this parameter as just x. So within this function, console.log whatever our parameter is of x. Then if we need to display output to our website, we would need this portion of code right here, where we document.getElementById change the inner HTML to whatever our parameter is of x. So then if we need to display output to our console, we would need to call this function output console. If we need to display output to our website, we would need to go in, change this code from output console to output website, and then call this function instead. So technically, function declarations or function expressions would work for this sort of program concept, but I tend to like to use function expressions because we do not need to keep on declaring function names and then clutter up the namespace that we're working with. So that's kind of the idea behind a function expression. It has some uses over function declarations. We can use them as closures and immediately invoked function expressions. These two we still need to talk about, so this video will serve as a prerequisite for those topics. But in this video, I gave an example of how we can pass a function expression as an argument to a separate function. So if you would like a copy of this code, I will post this to the comments section down below. But yeah, those are function expressions in JavaScript.